Well, I've got it mostly disassembled. All my pieces laid out, ready to be tagged and bagged. So I didn't take these out yet because what I want to do is, this is what we're going to be replacing with. Tone Pro System 2. It is a roller bridge setup. But before I pull those out, what I kind of want to do is, I want to see if these holes can if I don't have to do anything to them. So I'm just going to take that out, fit it on top of the existing hardware, and that tells me I don't have to fill these in and realign it. So I'm going to do that. Okay, this is the old one. The new one. Perfect. Don't have to realign the holes. Something that's also pretty cool as far as comparing both of these. Here, me sitting down on my wiring diagram of the old pickups if I want to do something with them. This one just comes in and out, just drops right in, old blade style. But I notice on this one, as you can see there, they can actually lock in once you set it in. You can screw it in tight, so you don't have to worry about it falling out, and it'll stay in position. And that's pretty damn cool. This looks like a better setup than this one. The other reason why I wanted to change these rollers instead of the blade, well, it's a blade. You're putting it on a string. If you're doing alternate tunings, moving around stuff, you'll probably snap the strings more often than one of these. This gives it a little bit of free to, move. So, and as far as these ones look compared to these ones, they look the same, but I'm going to change it anyways. So I'm going to pop these out now, knowing that don't really have to change the holes. I'll probably test fit those real quick, but not fully put them in, these ones. And after that, it'll be the next step. All right, I got them out. One thing I did find, one thing I just now noticed with the Tone Pro system, these ones were theirs, and this is the Jackson ones. Well, after popping them out, they're just too loose. The openings are bigger than for these ones. But lucky, here's what I just did. I'm going to go ahead and reuse the Jackson ones, but I've swapped the screws on the top. So it's kind of a mix match. So it's partly this, but at least this will fit back in nice and snug. So these will go with the old one. I'll keep these, so it's just a little modified, so I don't have to really do anything with that. I may put a thin bit of glue or something, because after when you pull them out, that each time you pull it out, it's going to get weaker. I want it to be a little more snug than that. So continue on. Let the build begin. Let's rock. All right, all the parts are tagged and bagged. We're all disassembled, so it's going to be down actually to some prepping and some sanding. I kind of got the neck prepped. I taped up the binding and the neck itself, because that needs to be protected through most of this phase. And the other reason, well, since we're painting the back of the neck, and I taped it so fine along the binding edge, is I'm going to obviously need to take material away all the way up to the tape, a hair, so when it gets so when the paint goes up to it, I want to try to get it flush with the binding as possible, so there's like literally no lip, because there's only so much I can fine sand and polish up without going back to wood. So I need to have, something for it to flow up against to. So that's going to be part of the detail sanding, is literally going right to the edge all the way around. And with the Sprezzo tuning keys, they don't need these screw holes, and I don't want to leave them and show them, so I'm going to go ahead and fill them in. It doesn't matter, because we're going to paint this, so we're never going to see it. So I'm going to fill that in. As far as the body goes, I'm going to sand it down almost close to wood, because they say you don't want to have too much thick paint on a guitar body. It screws up the tone, so I don't really need to strip it all the way down. It's not getting a transparent type of finish. So, but I want to leave some of this. What manufacturers typically use for guitar paint is like a polyurethane paint, not the polyurethane stains or shellacs or whatever you get at Home Depot. You really can't buy this paint like at Home Depot because it's super hard. Polyurethane is pretty much stuff that I use at my place of business, and it's obviously it requires a catalyst and a reducer to help thin it to be sprayed, but it is rock hard. So luckily I have connections with that stuff, so I'm going to be using a polyurethane of my own mix, but I want to take much of this down, so but it'll obviously give this the new paint something to kind of stick to, because as long as there's a little bit here, it'll bind to it, which is great. So I don't have to put like a primer or anything on there, or do any freaking, filling of wood or whatever. But another thing we're going to be doing after we get it down sanding is we're going to do some modifications. We're going to make these just a little bit wider, and a hair deep, just to recess in. Same thing with the front ones. We're also going to add battery box for the pickups. So probably goes like there, because what's going to determine that is about how much room I have due to the size of this cavity. So that kind of like takes up a big chunk of this. So that, plus you have all the pickups over here, so there's not much room to play with. So we'll either be here or there, but I'm probably more leaning like that. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to fix this with some toothpicks and some glue, kind of like this. So I'm going to just dab a little bit of glue inside. Kind of push it down in there, work it in. Take a little bit of my wood glue, just get it on the tip. Come on, get down in there. Fill it in. Work it, just like that. Same thing with the next. Yeah. Squeeze. Oop, wrong hole. In the comment section of "That's what she said." Oh, that's. But in this woke days, it'd be now what it said. I'll tell you one thing. I tell these people, I identify myself as a strawberry. Oh, suck on that. Goodbye, screw hole. Goodbye. 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 We'll let this set up about half an hour, and I'll come back. I'll just clip it off. I don't want to take it probably to the edge, clipping off. So I'm going to sand that there because I don't want to do any more filling after that. Well, hello there again, guitar noobs. Right now I'm going to start working on the neck, sanding it down. I've already started a little bit just to see how it's going to go. I think it's going to go pretty well. I got all my sanded blocks here that I'm going to be using. I'm going to start actually working around the edge of the binding first, kind of bring it down so there'll be a lip on the binding so the paint will flow up to it, and then when the paint's all dry, I'll just polish it up and kind of do a fine wet sand just to make it totally flush without exposing wood. And of course I've already chipped off my little fill job with toothpicks and glue, and we're gonna smooth that down. So it's time to sand this neck and get this one prepped and done. Dangerous ground there, buddy. Dangerous ground.
Oh, stupid. Time lapse. Here we go again.
See, here is that I'm literally sanding right up to the edge of the binding. I'm just trying to create a little bit of a lip, a hair line lip where the binding is higher than the wood, and the reason for that is when it comes to paint, as it gets painted, I want it to be able to flow up to the binding, so when it gets sanded and polished, the binding and paint together, it's uniform, no height changes or anything. Really kind of hard to do when basically the binding is plastic and you know, the neck is wood. So that's what I'm pretty much concentrated on, because the neck shape is already what, you know, is what I want it to be. The only thing other than just sanding around the binding is just to get whatever finish it had off it, so it's just bare wood and, you know, something for the paint to grab onto. But this is primarily the majority of the work, is just giving me like a lip for the binding, so just for a good transition between paint and plastic, and also to smooth out where the toothpicks were for the tuning keys. So the neck will be 100% prep and ready for paint. Whoopie-doo! Let's back to the show. Well, I got the neck sanded to where I like it. Even feels smooth around the palm. It's got a nice curve the way I like it. Gives me the opportunity to even reshape it, but you know, I already liked how it was before, so I just went ahead and all I did was just scratch it, basically. If you noticed, even though it's kind of hard during the most annoying time lapse, I peeled tape back in like every so parts, like here and there, just to kind of like give me a rough idea on the lip of the binding, so I can know a decent place to stop. I'm not trying to take too much away, but just enough. So what I'm going to do right now on this is remove the white tape that's just around the binding, and I'm going to retape it. I'm going to put it up literally like a hair, I mean where you barely just see the binding, and I'm going to end up painting on that. When it comes time to clean up after the paint's all cured, I'll end up, not only I'm going to do, you know, like a very fine polishing on the neck, but I'm going to end up doing it on the binding, which it won't it up as long as I'm using a really high grit like 2000 and polish it back out. You won't even notice, and it'll be nice and flush. So that way, anyways, I'm just letting, I want the paint to kind of roll up a little bit on the binding but not bury it, so it's less work on restoring that. So I'm going to go ahead and retape this one, and the next project, the next part of the build, is going back over to the body here, and we're going to go and router out the spot for the battery pack and get that squared away. So that's what we're going to do. So I've marked out where I need a cutout, and I did multiple checks just to make sure it won't interfere with this cavity, the string furrows, or even the post for the bridge. This was the only thing I was worried about, because it looks like it's almost close to that, but it should actually, the corner of it should be about right here, so I'm kind of lucky. I am going to take it as shallow as possible, so I'm going to get my tools set up and, you know, get the right measurements and depth. I'll probably do it on my drill press over there. So I'm going to get that all set up, and we're going to start cutting. I'm going to go ahead and drill out 4 holes in each corner, and I got it set so it will only drill about 3/4 of an inch deep. That's literally from the top of the plate to the bottom, so that way I don't go too deep. I can't go too deep. It's precisely measured for that. So let's get started making 4 little holes. Now we're gonna get a router set up and start carving this out. Oh yeah, that's a nice bit. Yeah. Now that is a nice flush fit. I really like it. Perfect. Cool. So next thing to do is I need to look at the instructions for the pickups to determine on where the wires for these need to come through the cavity or through the jack part, so I know which direction to put this and where to drill a channel through, whether this way or this way. Well, I figured out how the power wires to the battery are going to go. Basically, one wire is supposed to go to the jack and one is supposed to go into the toggle switch. So there are two ways I can do it. One wire through the jack, one through the body, and this way. I was about to contemplate that, but I'm probably making a hole come out through there, through the pickup, and out through there. Then at the very last minute, I just thought of something. Put them both through here, short wire for the jack, and the other wire just to bring it in and wrap it around and just send it back through the channel that was already there to out here. I believe that's where it goes. No, that's the pickup one. There is a channel wire that to pull through it. I gotta find it. Where is that son of a... Oh, I see it. Ha. Actually, it all comes through the pickup. Huh. So either way, I'm just gonna bring the both wires all the way back through here and down through here, and we're good to go. So that's what we're going to do. So I just need to get the one wire through here and out through there. So kind of made a little reference line, but I got to get the right angle. So here we go. Don't tell me that was just too easy. It seemed kind of soft. Let me just do it right. Well, I'm going to need a bigger bit because this ain't going to work. This auger bit is long, but it's a little bit too wider than what I wanted. But it'll work. It'll do. Oh, I see daylight. That was kind of too easy. Make sure we're good. Oh, that was too easy. Yeah, there it is. Comes out of the same hole. Let me see if I can clean this up a little bit. Yep. I know you're not going to be able to see it, but believe me. Perfect. Okay. So, we got that set. We got the hole made to do power. So 2 wires are going to come out here. One's going to loop back in, come out through the pickup, back into the cavity. So that's good. String furloughs. That's the next thing to do. Going to pull the old ones out, do the fine measuring. Just make these holes a little bit wider, but only about the height of the head of it. So that way it will just recess in but won't go too far. And so we'll do it on both sides. We pull this out, put this away, and we'll do that project. Alright, so we're back.